One telltale indicator of a declining empire is the depreciation of its currency. Much like ancient Rome, Britain has quite a few stories to share on the matter. America is nearing an imperial peak by this measure. The euro's fragmentation and China's restricted yuan are not enough to challenge the dominance of the US dollar. Some folks believe that Bitcoin operates like a pyramid scheme. According to political science, America is currently more divided than it has been since the eve of the Civil War in the 1850s. Is the state on the brink of collapse? And can it surpass its competitors? Let's explore it together. There was once a nation that found itself in the peculiar situation of being wealthy, yet struggling with governance for many years. Belgium, often called the most prosperous failed state globally, is probably the least likely country to be likened to America. However, the current state of U.S. politics increasingly resembles that of Belgium. Belgium's unique division into language blocks separates the country into French and Flemish regions, unlike the U.S. Decisions are often made locally due to the deep-seated mutual mistrust between them. Life continues uninterrupted for months, even years, without a governing body. Canada is spared from a similar fate because French-speaking Quebec is relatively small. America should be free of such paralysis with one undisputed tongue. The cultural gap separating blue and red states in America is as vast as any language barrier. Over time, the U.S. separation of powers has shifted from a source of strength to a potential weakness. In governance, the U.S. Supreme Court has taken on a role akin to a secondary legislative body, crafting laws typically the domain of elected assemblies in other places. Imagine this. Supreme Court justices hold their positions for life and often refer to the words of the Founding Fathers, who have long since passed away, to support their decisions. For decades to come, the court is firmly under America's control. The current conservative majority might be seen as seeking retribution for the liberal Supreme Court of the 1960s and 70s, known for its approach of legislating from the bench. Either way, American law has become intertwined with politics. The court's reputation has dwindled in opinion polls, now on par with other institutions. If the Democrats lose control of Congress in the midterm elections, brace yourself for another round of governing paralysis over the next 2 years. Once more, this would indicate a lack of power rather than a display of strength. When a superpower deals with national, even global challenges, it should consider addressing them at a higher level than Albany, Austin, Little Rock, or Springfield. Joe Biden's recent achievements, such as his significant green energy bill, could be undone by a future Republican president, regardless of whether it is Donald Trump or someone else. A deep-rooted animosity between the two Americas leads to a sense of existential crisis that weighs heavily on its constitution. Transforming America into a French-speaking country seems more feasible than altering its constitution. America's divisive camps resemble Belgium's language groups more than Britain's conservative and labor voters. Regardless of a U.S. president's performance, there are limits to how high or low their vote share can go. In the 2020 election, Trump received 47% of the votes. Over the past few years, Labor's advantage over Britain's ruling conservatives has surged from the low teens to over 30%. Such a seamless flow is unimaginable in the present-day United States. America's global influence has steadily increased over the past year or two. There are a couple of reasons for this. One interesting point is that the U.S.'s competitor is performing more poorly. Just like the dollar, geopolitics also holds certain truths. China, under Xi Jinping, has lost its status as the global economy's shining star. Xi is distancing himself as much as possible from the consent of the governed, which is crucial for a lasting political agreement. China's economy is projected to surpass America's shortly, but it will face the issue of an aging population along with internal obstacles. Compared to China, the U.S. appears favorable. Well, the situation doesn't reveal much except when it comes to power, but that's all relative. Another factor to consider is Vladimir Putin. America is uniquely positioned to face a bumbling adversary in Putin. The invasion of Ukraine by the Russian autocrat will be remembered as a significant mistake in military history, akin to Napoleon or Hitler's invasions of Russia in winter. With one bold move, Putin's aggression has reignited the West's identity and reaffirmed the U.S.'s position as a leader. It's worth noting that Putin's Russia will become more of a concern for China, which is an unexpected development. Currently, America's relative power is on the rise. There is a risk that it may fall prey to one of the episodes of worldwide triumph. That seems out of place. If parts are becoming more vulnerable to exploitation by foreign entities through cooperation with local allies, America, despite its global dominance, finds itself in a vulnerable position. There exists a great divide in the United States, where liberals and conservatives are becoming more polarized along political lines. This divide has resulted in a stalemate in passing laws, making it difficult to create policies and causing people to lose faith in governmental bodies. Politicians' refusal to compromise and work together has hindered advancements in healthcare, immigration, and climate change. Even with all its riches and success, the United States faces a significant challenge with economic inequality. In recent decades, the gap between the rich and the poor has been significantly widening, as the wealthiest individuals and corporations have accumulated a disproportionate share of economic gains. This inequality weaves a complex web, unraveling social bonds, widening gaps in education and healthcare, and sustaining a cycle of poverty and disadvantage. Despite efforts to advance civil rights, systemic racism and racial inequality persist in American society. African Americans and other minority groups in employment, education, healthcare, and criminal justice experience disparities. There are incidents of police brutality and discrimination that shed light on the continuous battle for racial justice and equality in the United States. Many folks have a bone to pick with the United States healthcare system, pointing out its pricey nature, lack of efficiency, and unfairness. Millions of Americans do not have access to affordable healthcare coverage, which results in disparities in health outcomes and financial difficulties. The COVID-19 pandemic has shed light on the vulnerabilities within the healthcare system, making the existing issues even more apparent and emphasizing the necessity for thorough reform. Many challenges loom on the horizon in the vast expanse of the United States. Among them are the weary roads, bridges weathered by time, airports showing signs of age, and the public transportation system struggling to keep pace. Years of neglect and lack of investment have led to crumbling infrastructure that impacts economic productivity, public safety, and quality of life. To tackle these infrastructure needs, making significant investments and engaging in extensive long-term planning is crucial. Even though the scientific community widely agrees on the reality of climate change, there are still groups in American society, including policymakers and industry leaders, who deny its existence. Denying these facts hinders progress in addressing climate change, shifting to renewable energy, and adjusting to a challenging climate. Not addressing climate change brings about significant environmental, public health, and economic stability risks. At this moment, the United States finds itself at a critical juncture, symbolizing both unparalleled global influence and deep internal conflict. Political polarization, economic inequality, racial injustice, and healthcare challenges all weave together to highlight the delicate nature of America's democratic institutions and societal unity. Although the nation boasts of its wealth and accomplishments, it must overcome significant challenges that jeopardize its stability and position as a global leader. The nation is currently grappling with many issues, including the erosion of democratic norms, the decline in infrastructure, and the denial of climate change. These challenges are adding to the complexity of the situation. With divisions deepening and trust in institutions fading, the United States risks losing its stature as a beacon of democracy and progress globally. Yet, in the face of these trials, a glimmer of hope for rejuvenation and strength still shines through. To tackle the underlying issues of societal discord and governance paralysis, a united effort from all sectors of society will be needed. It requires a dedication to uniting differences, supporting democratic values, and prioritizing the well-being of all. Only by coming together and embracing a shared vision can America become the land of opportunity and a shining example of freedom for everyone, at home and abroad.